Hey guys, hope you're having an amazing Christmas Eve. And as I try to get all my Facebook stuff in a row here, but I want to cut this day 4 of 366 days in a row, and I'll be live tomorrow too. Yesterday, somebody said to me, purpose will always test conviction. I'm like, wow, I've not heard that before. You guys may have. And, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Alan Thomas. I'm a coach, work with men, help them lose the pounds that hold them back from living the future that they're destined to live. And so I deal with guys that have a lot of weight to lose. I never tell anybody what to eat or what exercises to do. And people say, well, how do they lose weight? They lose weight because if a diet were the answer, wouldn't we already be thin? I mean, aren't there like a million diets out there? And, some of them bad, some of them good. I'm no judgment on which one's which. I'll let you and your doctor figure that out. But the point is, when I started on this journey in 2017, I was 304 pounds. I stepped on the scale, saw a number that I didn't think I'd ever see in my life, looking down early morning of March 2nd, 2017. And that scale number read 304. I was 55 years old, 5'11", and married for 31 years at the time, almost 35 years now, and 4 kids from the age of 15 to 27 at the time. And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, I've never met a man that was 65 that was over 100 pounds of weight. Now I'm sure they're out there, but I had not met one at that point. And I dealt with a lot of senior citizens in my work. I sold burial and funeral insurance to the senior market. That's people predominantly over 65. And I couldn't think of one man out of the thousands that I met that was 100 pounds overweight at 65. And in my mind, the reason was that they were gone. They were dead. And so it immediately gave me this. I got in my head, I said, I've got less than 10 years to live. And as you know, I'm 59 now, when you reach these ages, you're thinking, oh, you're going to be ready to go. No, you're not. No, you're not. Your age, you still have stuff to do. You still want to do things. And while I'd never been diagnosed with any horrible, obesity, morbid obesity, related diseases, I just drifted to 304 pounds. And it wasn't that I didn't try a lot. But knowing that I was 304 and likely to die meant that I was going to be known as my wife's first husband. My kids would call somebody else dad at some point. I don't think she'd run out and get married the afternoon I died, but she's still a young woman. And so it gave me this conviction and resolve that I'd never had. And it was really interesting. The person who said it to me, I've been trying to wrap my head around that purpose will test conviction. And so I want you to think of this when you're thinking about your weight and you're searching for a diet. I mean, you got to change what you eat. I certainly did. I lost 129 pounds in 260 days. I did it publicly. But it wasn't because I found a magical diet. It really wasn't. In fact, the eating plan that I used, I'd failed on probably 7 or 8 times, truthfully, maybe more than that. But the resolve that developed, my purpose at that point was so I would live and be able to be with my family and, be able to live out these dreams and hopes that you still have as a 55-year-old man, still got them as a 59-year-old man. And so that purpose of living those days out and being able to live and not struggling with obesity. I mean, at 304 pounds, your joints start to hurt. I had a doctor want to do surgery on my ankles, but my ankles are pretty good now, so they're fine. Because I lost all that weight, I was hammering them with an extra 100 and something pounds every single step I took. Not to mention the embarrassment of obesity. I mean, it was just holding me back in so many ways. And that was the question that really triggered my journey. A guy asked me, he said, "What's holding you back?" And I said, "My weight." And my weight was holding me back, not just physically. That's the 10%. That's the part that it matters a ton, but it really isn't the trump card, so to speak. I mean, my and my journey is not a lot different than the men that I work with. I mean, when they grasp the cost, when they grasp the cost of their obesity from just absolutely destroying their confidence in a lot of areas. And I talk to guys and say, "Well, it doesn't bother me that bad." I said, "Well, okay." But when I dig, it always bothers them. I've not met a man it didn't bother at some level, some more than others, but it's the shame and embarrassment, of taking your shirt off at the beach, or, you know, being intimate with your spouse. I mean, it's embarrassing when you're morbidly obese. I talk to men that, there are many men that are obese. They haven't been intimate in years with their wife. Some can't because of different issues, but it's obesity related. And we give up so much of our life to the fork. I mean, we just do. And I love good food. I love it just as more than the next guy. But the price that we pay for that is so high. And when a man realizes that, and when they realize that, while the world we live in is a world now of political correctness, and this isn't a political commentary, believe me, I don't get into that. My dad said never argue with somebody that has their mind made up, so I don't talk politics. But from a political correctness standpoint, to call somebody fat, like in a business setting, would be just absolutely, that'd be awful. But we know, men who are 100 pounds overweight, 50 pounds overweight, 75 pounds, 200 pounds overweight, whatever, they know that they're judged because you can't help it. And I talked about this some yesterday. A friend of mine told me, he said, "Yeah, I just used to see obese people as invisible." And he didn't mean to. He's a kind, caring man, but he told the truth. So when a guy walks into that business setting with an extra 100 pounds, he's probably hurt his chances of getting the deal on two fronts. Number one, first front is, and this goes for ladies too, but the first front is that people are going to judge him whether they're going to say it or not. They are. They're going to say, "Well, how can this guy do this work if he's and win in this work if he can't even control what he eats?" The second part is the bigger part. Second part is that guy who is morbidly obese, he understands that he's got that monkey on his back, either directly or indirectly, and it makes him a little less than it. It's like a limp to his step in almost every facet of life. And so many men I talk to go inward. They don't go out socially. They kind of hide because they know their obesity is something they should be ashamed of. And so I'm not saying this to shame anybody. I'm saying it to give you hope. But when my purpose will test conviction, it is such a powerful thought, and it's something I never heard that. You guys may have heard it before. I had not. Purpose testing conviction is really powerful. And when you think of an individual who has a conviction they're going to do something, how many times had I stood on a scale at 250, 260, 270, 280, whatever, and said, "I'm going to lose this weight." That's a conviction. I'm convicted that I'm going to lose weight. Well, why? Because I want to lose some weight. So the purpose of losing weight, just tests that conviction, and the conviction goes away in a week, in a day, in a month, or whatever. And I could never get there. But when my conviction became one that I was going to get the weight off, I didn't care. I didn't care what it took. I didn't care what I had to do. I was going to do it healthy. I was going to get it off. It was going to stay off. Then the purpose that was driving, that was testing that conviction became the fuel. It became the fuel that drove me. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I've been wrestling this one in my mind at purpose, because purpose, today, when I work with men that are struggling with their obesity, and my wife and I work with a handful of ladies, when we work with those individuals, it's so neat to see when they get it, and you watch them start to get fuel from their purpose. And it was never the diet that drove the scale down. I've not seen it happen one time long term. I mean, people can do it for a short period of time, but it'll pop right back up. But when they can when they can face their fear, their biggest foe, which is that plate of food, that extra bite, that overeating, and have a chance of failing at it, and that's where the victory is. I know this, I'm rambling, forgive me, but if you don't have a purpose to your weight loss, I'm going to say something to you. Wake up. I mean, wake up. That my 304-pound scale woke me up. It was early in the morning, and it was like, wow. But it was not a good wow. And so I just say this to you guys and anybody watching this, that, the purpose will be like a fire, and the conviction will be like the steel, and the steel will test the purpose. It will test the conviction. So did I do that right? The fire of the purpose will test the steel of the conviction, and it'll make it stronger. And so my conviction became very strong, and it drove me to do exactly what I need to do to get the weight off, and boom, it happened. And people say, how did you do it? And they want to know what diet I was on. I tell them, but it doesn't matter. It's useless. It's useless without other components. There's a lot of components to it, but it always starts with mindset. It always starts with the individual, how they think about this. Because if the answer was the diet, like the world wants you to believe, you would already be thin, because you already know the diets. You do. There's not a person that I've talked to that doesn't at some level. Even individuals that I work with that really didn't have any nutritional knowledge whatsoever, at some level they understood it, and they're getting results. So some of them get incredible results. So I say this not to discourage you. I say it to encourage you as we go into Christmas, and there's a lot of eating going on. Think about the purpose for who you are. Think about, is your conviction strong enough yet to get your weight off? Is it a struggle that you've lost over and over again? And just test it. Again, this may not make sense to you, but I think those who are going to hear it are going to hear it. And so if you need some help, if you're stuck and you don't know where to go, schedule a free breakthrough session with me. Go to transformmyfuture.com/apply, and you'll go to my calendar, pick a time, and it'll be an hour conversation. When you pick that time, you're also going to go to a short questionnaire. It's a short questionnaire just so I have some little knowledge so I can prepare, and map out a plan for that call. But that breakthrough session that we'll do, I've had people come out of those and say, God, I never thought of the stuff that you told me. And, not everybody's suited for Rethink Dieting. I can tell you that. That is clear. And it's a chance to really maybe get some clarity, a lot of clarity, probably more than you ever had about your weight, and really map out how you're going to get it off. And if you're an individual that struggled, you're stuck, reach out to me, transformmyfuture.com/apply. If you've never had a chance to watch the masterclass that I do, it's you can watch a replay at rethinkdieting.com. That's rethinkdieting.com. And it gives the five-step strategy that I used, and those steps are real steps that I use. So, check that out. Book a call with me. I'd be glad to have the conversation. And, just think about that. What does it matter? Is this your last Christmas because of the fork? There's some purpose there. So, guys, you have a great Christmas Eve. We will see you tomorrow. And, post a post a comment. Love to hear from you guys. Take care.